Hello, this is Krista here with you again today. And today I wanted to talk about alcoholism, substance abuse, and narcissistic abusive type relationships. I'm including these three together because in a video I listened to recently, alcohol and substance abusers are put into the same categories as narcissists. There is probably more than half the time where that drug or alcohol abuser is most likely a cluster B type personality disordered person anyways. A lot of times who fall into the category of substance and alcohol abuse are the people with more problems that are usually already in the mental health world where they are getting some help. And if they are not getting help, then they should be. Because a lot of times when we are not getting the right help, and we don't know what to do, we go on to cope excuse me, with our problems by using. We can cope with our problems by using with even getting into relationships with other toxic people. And those toxic people are not good for us. They actually toxify our lives even to a worse degree. Sometimes to a very detrimental degree where, it just, instead of a healthy relationship where that other partner is going to help pick you up in certain times where you need them to, the toxic type of relationship, you cannot count on them. I was just listening to a podcast where they were saying about how the toxic person in the relationship can really kind of dangle carrots, always saying that they are going to give you a house one day, they are going to marry you one day, they are going to get a better job one day, and all these things, and then it never happens, They dangle carrots like that, always using promises, and often toxic, especially the narcissistic type or very manipulative type of person, can really manipulate. They know how to manipulate really well. I don't want to scare anybody, but if you are in a situation like this where often codependents get put into a place like this, I will talk about my own codependency as well through these, and how difficult it is to come to that point, even if you've done a lot of work on yourself already. I know that I have been in therapy and working on myself for over a year now, and sometimes it can be hard to leave these relationships because we are usually isolated through these events where we don't really know who to talk to about it. We don't know where to go for help, and oftentimes we don't think anything is wrong. The manipulator will often get us to believe that there's nothing wrong and everything is fine with themselves and yourself, and which causes more cognitive dissonance, where because deep down you know and you see what's happening isn't right, but then you feel kind of stuck in a place, maybe with obligation or something that maybe you can help this person, but it never really helps them, and the same thing keeps happening, like maybe their drug or alcohol abuse just keeps happening. And even as codependents, we are afraid to be alone. We think that we have to have that partner no matter what, if that person is good or bad. as women, you know, we usually think we have to stay and make things right, or we can be the better one and make the relationship better and do loads and loads of work that we shouldn't even have to, because it just takes a toll on us eventually, can really wear us out, and we can even become sick trying to also take care of these people, when in essence what these people really need, what they really want, is constant care, a constant source from someone else. They will actually go and not stop until they find a person, like, especially like us codependents, on who they can get the most source out of. A lot of times this person might not be able to hold a job, or have things of their own, like even cars or homes, because they cannot come up with that rent. They often look towards source of supply, which is the codependent who has a stable job, even though us codependents are really unstable and we need to do a lot of work on ourselves. If you don't know that you are one, you're in a really tough place. And but the more you learn, and a person can become stable and will no longer have a need to have this type of person in their lives. That is me right now. That is still what I go through. This last relationship has really been kind of, I'm fixing this, tapering off, kind of slowly and shabbily, kind of like crumbling away. Because, well, that's how it happened in all my past relationships. When you finally get to the point where you just get so disgusted with this man or woman that will never change, but always promises something more. Might change for a while, but then will go back into their old ways with like the honeymooning phase. And then, of course, falls back into the devaluing and finally the discard stage, where even if you might start standing up to them, that discard phase will come sooner. Because, you know, if you do start confronting them and start saying no, when they have to have that supply from you at all times, I know that it began when he would get angry because when you start standing up for yourself, they can't have that. They have to keep you to a point where you are going to say yes to their every need and whim, and your world is totally revolving around all their world and their wants and their needs, to where you don't even know who you are anymore. It can start from early childhood, that we have never gotten or been able to learn those boundaries, because there was oftentimes a narcissistic type of individual in our own lives. Be it borderline, maybe if somebody had a mental disorder like schizophrenia, or just any kind like that, where that person takes a lot of care. And you know, especially in situations of narcissism, because they can even beat you down to the point where you have to comply with their wishes and their demands on, you know, around the clock, and it can really just take its toll on another human being. Oftentimes, I know myself with my codependency, I became an addict myself. You know, because of the pain, the unsolved pain, when we stay as serious codependents, and, you know, have no self-esteem or self-confidence, and we are constantly getting into these friendships and maybe jobs and relationships where we are constantly just pounded down, maybe with all kinds of negativity, criticism, and we are not able to ever stand up for ourselves. We really need to learn how. So anyways, just wanted to say that my dogs are barking. It really does take a lot of work. Joining AA groups are really good for codependent women that are stuck, or men that are stuck in these relationships with addicts. I have to say for a moment that it can be hard to leave. I've been seeing this in my last relationship for a long time, and it's kind of gradually going toward the point of no return. And although sometimes I think that we are done, sometimes I might sneak back over. But really learning every day for at least an hour every day about narcissism and the types of people that includes, and also some of the substance abuse. I really kind of start opening my eyes now, and now that my teeth are all out, I kind of wake up a little bit more, and I become a little bit stronger, because again, what the narcissist can do is they can get you to become addicts with them, to have more control over you, and beat you down even to the point. I know mine took me out into a place that was had toxic mold in it, and we both became violently ill. And then the drug we were on, I got very sick with infected teeth, and they finally it's finally taken a year for them to take all the teeth out, the sick teeth, and that has really made me weak. But that's kind of what they like. They like to have you as weak as they can, so they can keep you and have that control over you, and to get you to do what they want, and to have you at their every whim. It's really sad and it's scary, but it's true. I'm learning this for myself. That's one big reason why I'm getting on and doing these videos, because it's devastating. And not only did he do that, but he got my kids taken away from me. A lot of times these types of toxic people do not like children. The children, when the children have all those needs and wants and attention because they are just children, that is healthy to give that to them. But what they don't like is that any kind of attention that you are giving your children, you are not giving it to them, and they need that constant attention. So they don't like that. They will push children out of it. It got to a really bad point for me. He told on me, and my children got taken away. And although I do see them now as often as I want, it was a very horrid, like a horror movie. And oftentimes that's kind of how you feel in a relationship with one. You just feel like it's a horror movie all the time, like a bad dream, one that you cannot escape from. I want to tell you right now that there is hope. Since then, I have moved into my own apartment. I had a PPO put on him at first, and of course, he went into a rage, and basically did the last part of the cycle. Which was, he would not call me anymore, talk to me anymore, even after the PPO was over. And what's crazy is that trauma bonding thing, where you can get addicted to them. And I just did a video on trauma bonding, so if you're interested in watching to learn more about it, I kept going back to him even during the PPO. And of course, I'm recovering from borderline personality myself, and that's like codependent times 5 or more, I think. And so I've been really trying to do a lot of recovery work on that too, with different things, because when you're coming out of like any type of codependency, you really need to learn. You need to learn a whole lot about like changing your mindset and everything, and working on ways to break that cord, cut that cord with that other person. They can, act like they've changed or they want you back, and any measly kind of acceptance or love that they throw your way, a codependent can immediately run right back to that. It has a lot to do with trauma bonding and peptide addiction. I also do a lot of work on that too with meditation. Um, but anyways, with the whole thing about my ex, sometimes I will stop there, and I will just stop over there because we can become kind of obsessed with these people. I know that it is getting longer and longer that I have the urge to go and see him. But now, it seems kind of like I'm just now, after I'm becoming stronger, like I'm more awake, and I'm really realizing what is really going on over there. And as a codependent and your lover is a substance abuser, oftentimes we don't even realize or see that they have a problem, and we will hide it just as much as they will. And and that is being an enabler. And to come out of being an enabler will change everything. You will have those fears like, oh, well, you will never see that person again. That's terrifying to a codependent or a BPD. And all these other things, because if that person was nice at all, or was nice at least a part of the time, or even a lot of the time, but then went into beating you in certain ways, that's still abuse, and they are still toxic. They can really zap the energy right out of a person. So what I see now is when I go over and just begin to realize that what happened was, for the last 3 days, I did go back over, and I don't know why. It's just that obviously I have not conquered it yet. It is a process, and you will have like rebounding experiences, like not rebounding, but kind of like a drug to get that fix again. Maybe it might be less or less until maybe nothing anymore. Or if you completely cut off, that's great. They say 100% no contact. But I know that can be hard for some of us. And I just wanted to tell you the story real quick that I did go back over. And I had broken a window at his dad's place. And part of the reason why I went back over, because the huge guilt that can be thrown on us too, as well as codependents, we get these huge levels of blaming ourselves and guilt. That's another really big one to work on. Realizing and just forming new processes in your head that those things are not your fault, and it is not you, it's their stuff. It can be a hard one to learn, especially if it's ingrained in your psyche from early days. So I did go back over, and I gave his dad, I would not give it to him because I knew that he would probably spend it on alcohol or drugs. And I told him that too. I said, I'm not going to give this money. If I give it to anybody, it will be your father. And so I did. I gave some money to his father. But then I kind of hung around, and we kind of had some fun. We went swimming into different things because they can have sources around them that are a great experience, like a lake. He has a lake house, but it's his father's. He doesn't have a home of his own. And but I watched him drink again. I watched him lift those beers one after another, to maybe like 2 or 3 or more beers over the weekend. And then finally, and he was telling me about this great job that he had again. And he had actually told me before that he had went through like, I don't know how many, close to like 100, that he had so many jobs already and got fired or walked out from all of them, which is another narcissistic or toxic thing that users and abusers will do. They expect the codependent, they try to find a source that already has that home and everything and will be nicely taken care of, and then just act like, well, they're going to do something about it one day, and then it never happens. And we have codependents fall for that, you know? Just this illusion of hope, because we've never really known anything else. So what happened was I started watching him drink beer again, and I didn't really say anything, because what that often means is that he kicks me out and then I can't come back. So that's another control tactic that they have to keep you silent again, to let them do whatever they want. So he was bragging about this job that he had, and his dad was really proud of him. Although his dad is another enabler, narcissistic type of individual. So what happened was he, told me he had this job where he was doing auto body again and making pretty good money. But he said that he didn't like the job, and people were assholes. And the second to last night that I was with him, he got really, really drunk that night. And the next day I went back, and he was in a really bad mood. He did not talk to me at all. And finally I got up and left, still drinking his beer. And then last night when I went over, he said that he got fired the day before yesterday. It was the night that he got really drunk. The next day he went in, and his boss fired him because he wouldn't do something his boss asked him to. So I'm kind of used to seeing this. I expect no different from the way that he always was, because he was always like this. Although I kind of am opening my eyes a little bit more now, and seeing this, really realizing that he really is a drunk above anything else. He is a drunk, and his drunkenness is a big part of the reason why he fails at jobs and stuff. And so I just wanted to put that in there today, and that it kind of helped me, made it easier for me to realize that he will never change, no matter how hard I try, or no matter even if I might be becoming like a coach or whatever else. There is a little hope for these individuals. No matter how hard you try, no matter what you study, no matter kind of great ideas that you're going to get from here or there to help in these relationships, they just are going to fail anyways. That's a big one for a lot of us. And I just wanted to put that out there, that I don't want to make these videos too long. But it does kind of help me realize why we're not together anymore. And I will kind of even tell him to his face, why we're no longer together. And it just kind of helps me see and understand and come to a conclusion and an ending for myself, because you will never usually get one from them. You never will. And going through that grief process is getting easier. And one day I know that I will just uplift from that place and never return, like in all my past relationships. And that I have learned so much more this time, I think, more than any relationship I've had in the past. I learned like 1,000 times fold in this one, and I really don't want to return, and I will know better next time, and be wiser in my next relationship. So all the power and love to all of you out there. Peace and love. Have a good one.